everybody. Rick Mullen from Hat Trick's Unofficial Flyers podcast. We're down here waiting for Game 4 to start. With my son, Sean. Sean, what's the score tonight? 4-1? 4-1. There goes Gritty. Let's turn it, man. Let's go see Gritty. You with me? Yep. 4-1 Flyers. Call Sean. I say 3-2. I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think we close the door. You ready? Ready. All right. Go Flyers. Go Flyers. Number 1. Woo!
Hey everybody, welcome to Hat Trick's Unofficial Flyers podcast. I'm Rick Mullen, I'll be your host tonight, and we are going to talk about this Stanley Cup Playoffs, first round, Game 4, Flyers versus the Penguins. And man, I am sick to my stomach this morning. I just, what a game last night. It was a tough one. You know, the Flyers were in a opportunity there to sweep the Penguins in 4. They didn't get it done, sadly. And the Penguins are a good team. They're not a great team like they used to be, but they are a good team. And trying to knock out multiple NHL Hall of Famers in a 4-game sweep was something hard. It was going to be hard. And the Flyers are a young team. They probably went into that game knowing that was like one of the biggest games of their careers, if not the biggest game of their careers so far. And you know, they struggled to get the job done last night. But right from the beginning, we were down the game, me and my son, and it was a little different. Like they stage you in the East Hall when you walk in. They block you from going to having full access to the building, but you're allowed inside in this one section. And the one section was pretty good. They had the block party in there, and you know, it wasn't bad. It was pretty loud, you know, not deafening loud or anything like that, but you could definitely feel the level of excitement was a lot different last night than it was the first home game. You know, it wasn't as loud. It wasn't as, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, obnoxious. Maybe that's it. You know, everyone was just on fire that first home game, which they should be. You know, it was the first one in a long time. But last night's game was a little more diluted. It wasn't as exciting in the beginning. The fans were pumped, but not anywhere near as pumped as what they were the first game. So you could feel that energy was a little different. You know, last night it wasn't as high level as it was the game before. But anyhow, we go into this game and let's talk about some stats here, and you know, we'll go over a couple things today. But let's see, the Penguins won 4-2. Flyers were not able to get it done. Shots on goal were 30 from Philadelphia to 21 for Pittsburgh. Hits. Again, we always say it. Hits seem to dictate play. They seem to dictate it. And, you know, there's no difference here except tonight the Flyers were out-hit 36 by the Penguins to the Flyers 29. Penalty minutes, the refs really did us no justice last night. They gave 18 penalty minutes to Philly and only 8 to the Penguins. Was real upset about that number. There were definitely some things, and I don't want to say every game that there's things that are missed, but you know, in these Penguin games, these refs are blind when it comes to the shenanigans the Penguins do. There was a player on the Penguins punching away at Garnet Hathaway 3, 4, or 5 times across the back of the head against the boards. And, you know, the refs blow the whistle and they all go in, they break everything up, and they send Garnet Hathaway out, I think, for elbowing, but nothing to the Penguins. And it was like that all night long. There was a trip here and there, no call. There was just so much dirty crap again that's going on. Not as blatant as it usually is, but there were at least 3 or 4 blatant that should have been called and weren't. So the refs and the NHL, in my opinion, are trying to extend this series, make as much money as they can from the more games that they can. And it was quite evident that they want Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins not to be swept. And they called barely nothing on the Penguins last night, again, as usual. But I digress. let's talk about the face-off dot. So the face-off dot, the Flyers actually looked good last night. They were 56.4% to the 43.6% for the Pens. So face-off win percentage leaned towards Philly. Period starts. Again, the fans aren't as pumped as they were. The first game, it was let's go Flyers chants and Skinner chants and all kinds of things. And it wasn't as dominant in this game. The fans, I think, were a little nervous with the team. I really do. I think the fans were just as nervous last night to chant for this four game sweep. They just didn't bring the intensity that they should have. It was a lot louder than regular season games. But when you were at that first game and saw the level that first game was at, and then going to the second game, not anywhere on the same level from the fans. But first period opens up at the 14:24 mark. Sidney Crosby gets a power play goal. He's assisted by Erik Karlsson. Penguins are up 1-0. Flyers are looking terrible the first period. They really went backwards that period. They didn't hit much. They had struggled all night, but so far just in that period, they struggled breaking out. They went back to that just flipping the puck down the ice because they couldn't complete passes. Just looking bad. Like tape-to-tape passes didn't exist last night. And, in the first period, you thought, okay, no worries. We seem to do this all the time. They did it a lot, like normally they'll play the first 10 minutes of the first period and try to figure out how to play, and then they get it. But last night they went that whole entire first period struggling. They couldn't complete a good pass. They couldn't skate the puck in the zone. They did really not much of anything offensively. Looked really, really weak. They weren't playing good hockey. And I am not saying they weren't trying, because this team does try. They really were. They were still skating hard. They were still playing, for the most part, good defense. They just couldn't complete. They couldn't execute the plays that they wanted to execute. And there were times there that they probably should have shot, but they didn't. They tried for that one more pass and couldn't get the pass through. It was either picked off or a bad pass that went into the player's feet, or just the player couldn't accept it. They would, miss the pass. So it was hard. It was a hard game to watch that first period. But anyhow, we end of the first, it's 1-0 Pittsburgh. We go into the second period, and at the 1.03 mark of the second period, 1 minute in, Dan Vladar has the puck behind the net, and he wants to pass it up the boards, and he whiffs with a Penguin right on top of him, with Raquel right on top of him. And Raquel actually, from behind the net, pushes the puck out front and sweeps it into our open net and scores a goal. And Vlad tried everything. He dove and tried to poke check it from behind the net, but he just missed, and Raquel was able to, or Raquel was able to actually knock it into the Flyers open net, and the Penguins are up 2-0. 2-0 on a bad play by Vlad, and that's okay. I mean, Vlad's due for a bad game here and there, but I know that one upset him. He wanted it back, and at the end of the game, he even said it. If I don't make that mistake and don't do that, they don't get that goal, and it's a tie game going to overtime, and he knows that mistake was on him. But in reality, I think, and I'm hoping anyway, that Tocchet was in that locker room after that second period saying, look, Vlad stole games for us. He's absolutely stolen games for us. Now it's our turn. We need to make this goal up for Vlad and get this thing done. And if he did, that's great, but just didn't happen. But anyhow, second period, still at the 15:40 mark. Trevor Zegras and Cam York set up Denver Barkey. Zegras puts one right across the slot, and Denver Barkey's crashing the net, and he pokes it into the net. Flyers get within one. It's 2-1 Pittsburgh going into the third. We get into the third period. We're 4:27 into the third period. There's a breakdown in our ends, and I remember the play because I mean, it was really bad. It was somehow somebody missed their mark, and I wish I went back and looked at the play again, but I didn't. But all the Flyers players kind of went out to the corners and left the entire center of the ice, the whole slot, everything wide open. And lo and behold, Sidney Crosby sets up a Chris Letang at the point, and Chris Letang, I think, was going to fire the puck, but looks and sees, like, holy crap, like I can skate completely all the way into the net and nobody's there. And that's what he did. He skated all the way into the net and takes a slap shot and just blows one past Vlad on the right hand side. And you can't hold that one against Vlad. I mean, it was a point blank slap shot that beat him wide, and I don't know why nobody was there. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if the Penguins were holding players and they weren't able to break free and get in front, but he went in completely unobstructed and buried one slap shot right past Vlad. And that puts the Penguins up 3-1 at this point. 7-minute mark of the third period. Travis Konechny basically took this game on his shoulders, and he finally, from a good pass from Dvorak and Sanheim, he buries one, and it's 3-2 Flyers. Flyers pull the goalie towards the end of the game, and at the 19:03 mark, you have Connor Dewar hits an empty net, and game's over for 4-2 Pittsburgh. Not what the Flyers wanted to see, for sure. Not what we were all hoping. All right, so let's kind of talk about this game. A lot of things happened this game that, the Flyers didn't play well, number one. They played hard. They did, but they didn't play like they normally do. They didn't hit. They slowed down on the things that made them successful. They didn't you can see from the numbers they're throwing 40 plus hits a game, and tonight they only threw 29, and Pittsburgh got hit in the 36. So there was a couple adjustments. I think Pittsburgh switching their goalie. The Silvos was a good move by Muse. Skinner was done, and I think that kind of threw a curveball at the Flyers a little bit. They had to figure out a new goalie. The Penguins, for the most part, look like a little bit better of a team. Crosby absolutely looked better tonight than he's had the whole series. They kind of did to us, the Penguins did to the Flyers what the Flyers have been doing to the Penguins. The breakout passes by the Flyers were very, very hard to complete. When the Flyers got the puck and looked up the ice, they couldn't find anybody. They would throw the puck up the boards over and over and over again to the right side. And it was baffling me a little bit because every time we did it, the Penguins knew we were doing it. It was like kind of like a game plan. Like they knew it. They're like, they knew the puck was going to that side, and they would outnumber us on that side of the ice. And the Flyers couldn't get the puck out of the zone. Like they would literally be whacking, hacking, trying to poke it, and Penguins would come up with it, throw it towards the slot, and the next thing you know, they got pressure on us, and they're cycling the puck and getting shots. And it happened frequently. Almost every play, every line was getting eaten up by that structure. So whatever Muse saw in the Flyers and how they broke out, he adjusted to it quickly. Here, well, not quickly. It took him 4 games, right? But he adjusted tonight, and he was able to absolutely have the Penguins put a lot of pressure on the Flyers and hurt the Flyers breakout. That really hurt. And then when we finally did get out, Penguins did real well. The Penguins got a lot of sticks in the passing lanes and blocked a lot of cross-ice passes. They clogged the neutral zone a little bit. If you watch, they really spread the ice out too. Like I think they had a really tight box usually in our end, in the Flyers' end. But last night they spread out really wide because they were looking for passes where one of the players could beat someone one-on-one. But if you're playing against a really tight box, there's not a lot of room to skate around someone, because if you try to get around one, the other one can step in or poke check or whatever. But when you spread that box out, it opens up space, and that's what they did. They spread their guys out on all the corners, like really far out. And it made the Flyers actually open up a little bit. And when they opened up, it created space for like the defenseman to get a pass and then try to beat that one guy. And it worked for them. It worked for them a lot. The Flyers got pulled out of that condensed structure that they normally have, and the Penguins picked it apart. So hopefully they learned a little bit. The Flyers learned a little bit about it last night and can readjust. And going into Monday night's game, Flyers are up in Pittsburgh. It's going to be another hard one. They got to close the door. But the Flyers seem to play better on the road this year. I'm hoping they win. It would be good. It'd be great to see them again come home, but I don't want them to come home and be losers, right? Like a 3-2 lead would be scary, and I think that puts a lot more pressure on the Flyers. So I hope they can close the door on Monday night. Um, there was a topic of discussion a few games back, probably about 2 games back, and I broadcasted this as well. Back then, we were kind of talking about Matvei Mishkov a little bit, and probably having the need to sit. Back then, he wasn't producing. He wasn't doing really well. He was actually detrimental on the ice. He was making bad plays. He was taking bad penalties. And, everyone said, I let him play a game or two here and like he'll get used to it. Like he's got to play. He's too young. And it's caught up to him. He's had 4 games now to try to produce. He hasn't been able to. It looks like Rick Tocchet, if you're reading the news, it looks like Rick Tocchet's going to healthy scratch him and put Bump in the lineup. I'm okay with it, guys. I am. I'm okay with it. I think, Mishkov wasn't getting a lot of ice time. The ice time that he got, he wasn't really doing too well. This is not something I would be doing if Mitch had like 2 or 3 or 4 good lines, good times on the ice, and then maybe 1 or 2 bad shifts. But that's not the case. Almost every shift that Mishkov's doing, he's struggling. He's getting some time on the power play, but nothing's happening there. There was a little triangle play that the Flyers set up where the play went from someone in the center to Mishkov, and then he was supposed to dish it up to Zegras, I guess, for a blast, and his pass got picked off. So almost all of the things that he needs to execute on right now, he's not able to execute on. And I don't know if it's in his head, but physically he looks like he troughs plays. He's not banging. He doesn't put his body in the right position when he's checking. So players are going around him. Like he should be stopping players from going around him so they can't go deep in our zone. But he goes and puts himself in a position where they kind of bounce off of him and go right around him. And now it's like a 2-on-1 on the one side because they got through Mishkov. So it's something that I said back a couple of games ago that I would not mind Mishkov getting scratched for a game and letting Bump come in. I didn't want Grunstrom. I want Bump. Bump is important to this team. He needs to play some of these games as well. The kid needs to learn just like Mishkov does. So I know there was a reporter out there that said they should sit him and put Grunstrom in, but I'm calling for Bump. And I think that Rick Tocchet at this point, from what I'm reading, sounds like he is going to healthy scratch Mishkov on Monday night and get Bump into the lineup. From what I'm reading, it sounds like Noah Juulsen's going to sit too, and Emil Andre's coming in. Also, it sounds like there's going to be some line changes, at least from what I'm seeing. So it looks like they're going to go with Trevor Zegras with Denver Barkey and Owen Tippett, Christian Dvorak with Porter Martone and Travis Konechny, Noah Cates with Tyson Forster and Alex Bump. And then obviously Sean Couturier, Garnet Hathaway, and Luke Glendening. So this is what I believe is being reported, that the Flyers were make some changes to their lineup, and this is probably going to be the lineup going into Monday night. And I'm okay with that. I definitely am. I think, and I'm hoping that Noah Cates and Tyson Forster can find that magic that they had when they had Bobby Brink on that line. So maybe between Bump, Cates, and Forster, we can find a line that can contribute a little bit. Because they haven't been, and hopefully we're still a much better road team, and you will see Sean Couturier and Garnet Hathaway laying some of these Penguins out, getting back up into that 40 hits mark and putting some real physical pressure on these guys again, and earning this win on Monday night and closing the door on the Pittsburgh Penguins season. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully the Flyers, learned from last night that, they need to play just as hard as they did games 1, 2, and 3. They need to throw the body and be as physical, just like they did in 1, 2, and 3. They need to not just dump the puck out. They need to be better at tape-to-tape passes and possession. And it's okay, man. If you're like throwing a puck up the ice and you keep missing and you're not getting anywhere and you're just giving the puck back to them, it's okay to, if again, it's okay to go backwards sometimes if there's like no one behind you. Drop the pass back to defenseman and reset and do it again. Nothing wrong with that. The Penguins actually did that all night the other night. It was it was kind of funny, but anyone that watched those documentaries or read the book about the Red Army game when the Flyers played the Red Army, That's what it looked like last night with the Pens. The Pens would try to get up the neutral zone and couldn't get up, so they'd spin back around and come back. They would try it again, and if they couldn't get up, they would spin back around and come back. And the fans were booing them because they were going backwards. But the Pens actually doing that opened up that neutral zone because it pulled some people in on the forecheck, and then they were actually able to make some really long passes, breakout passes, and get down the ice. So the Pens put pressure on our neutral zone trap by not really trying to go through it much. Trying here and there. If they didn't make it, they would circle back and start again. So the Flyers need to do the same thing. It's okay. It's okay to control the puck and go backwards from time to time. You don't always have to just dump it in if you can't, get that first pass off. But and that's been the Flyers' problem last night. And I think what was it, game 2? They struggled with that too. They've really struggled breaking out and controlling that puck. So anyhow, let's put this one behind us. Let's move on to game 5. Let's close the door for the Penguins on Monday night. Anybody that has anything, please send us an email, hattrickspodcast99@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and Apple. Looking forward to Monday night. And until then, go Flyers.